Welcome. What you are about to watch is not science fiction, and it is not folklore. It is a serious investigation into one of history's most compelling unresolved questions, the mystery of the face on Mars, Pareidolia, or ancient monument. Across the world, in universities, research institutes, and field excavations, serious scholars are wrestling with evidence that does not fit the accepted story. Evidence that has been documented, measured, and peer-reviewed, and that still has no satisfying conventional explanation. We are going to look at that evidence carefully, without prejudice in either direction, not dismissing what is extraordinary, but not accepting it without scrutiny either. The truth, as always, is in the details. On July 25, 1976, the Viking 1 spacecraft photographed a region of Mars called Cydonia. In one image, a 5-kilometer formation appeared to resemble a human face, 2 eye sockets, a nose, and a mouth, all visible in the shadowing produced by the low sun angle at the time of photography. NASA scientists who noticed it called it a bit of whimsy and released it as a curiosity. For millions of people, it was much more than whimsy. The face on Mars became one of the central exhibits of ancient astronaut theory and the target of decades of advocacy for higher resolution imaging. What happened when the Mars Global Surveyor took a much higher resolution image in 1998 and again in 2001 is a story about human pattern recognition, the sociology of belief, and the genuine complexity of Mars's geology. This is where our investigation begins. Stay with us, because the further we go into the evidence, the more extraordinary it becomes. The story you think you know is only the surface. Beneath it lies something far more remarkable. Let us begin. Before we examine the specific evidence, we need to step back and understand the context. This case does not exist in isolation. It sits within the expanding frontier of unexplained cosmic phenomena, and to properly evaluate what we are looking at, we need to understand the broader picture that surrounds it. The scale of the universe is so far beyond ordinary intuition that even physicists struggle to hold it in mind. The observable universe contains an estimated 2 trillion galaxies, each containing hundreds of billions of stars. The Milky Way alone has between 100 and 400 billion stars. Conservative estimates suggest that 1 in 5 of those stars has a planet in the habitable zone, the orbital range at which liquid water can exist on the surface. That gives our galaxy alone somewhere between 20 and 80 billion potentially habitable worlds. Against those numbers, the claim that Earth is the only planet to have produced intelligent life seems extraordinary. The statistical argument for extraterrestrial life is almost overwhelming, and yet we have no confirmed contact, no artifact, no verifiable signal. The contrast between the mathematical expectation of abundant life and the apparent emptiness of the cosmos is the Fermi paradox, and it is one of the deepest unsolved problems in science. The paradox has generated dozens of proposed solutions. From the Great Filter hypothesis, some catastrophic barrier prevents civilizations from becoming spacefaring, to the zoo hypothesis, they are watching us, but not yet making contact, to the simulation argument, the universe we observe is itself an artifact. None of these has been confirmed. All of them have troubling implications. The Fermi paradox is not a curiosity. It may be the most important question the human species has ever faced. This context matters because it tells us something important. What we are about to investigate is not an isolated curiosity. It is part of a pattern that researchers in multiple fields have been independently documenting for decades. And patterns in science demand explanation. With that foundation in place, let us now turn to the specific case at hand. Now we reach the heart of the matter. The core evidence surrounding the face on Mars, Pareidolia or ancient monument, is more extensive, more verified, and more troubling for conventional explanations than most people realize. Let us walk through it systematically, fact by fact, and allow the evidence to speak for itself. We are not going to speculate here. Every point that follows is documented in peer-reviewed publications, official archaeological records, or government archives that are publicly accessible. The question is not whether these facts are real. The question is what they mean. Consider this first extraordinary detail. The original Viking 1 image of the Cydonia region, Viking Orbiter Image 35A72, was taken at a resolution of approximately 43 meters per pixel and at a sun angle of approximately 45 degrees, creating strong shadows that accentuated the facial appearance. The NASA scientist who released the image as a curiosity stated clearly that it was probably a mesa formation. This single data point, if taken in isolation, might be set aside. Anomalies happen, instruments malfunction, researchers make mistakes. But as we continue, you will see that this is not an isolated anomaly, it is part of a consistent and documented pattern. But that is only the beginning. Researchers Vincent Di Pietro and Gregory Molnar enhanced the original Viking image in 1979 and argued that the formation showed consistent facial symmetry that was unlikely to be coincidental. Richard Hoagland subsequently promoted the face on Mars as part of a broader hypothesis about ancient Martian civilization. Now, a skeptic might propose an alternative explanation for this, and that is entirely reasonable. We should always test alternative explanations before accepting extraordinary ones. The problem is that the alternative explanations, when examined carefully, create more problems than they solve. The mystery deepens when we examine. Mars Global Surveyor imaged the Cydonia Mesa in April 1998 at a resolution of approximately 4 meters per pixel, 10 times the resolution of the original Viking image. The higher resolution image showed a natural geological formation, a mesa shaped by wind and erosion without clear facial features. This is where the conventional account begins to strain. Each individual fact might be dismissed or minimized in isolation. But the cumulative weight of the evidence is another matter entirely. Perhaps most remarkable of all, advocates who did not accept the MGS conclusion pointed out that the 1998 image was taken from a different angle with different illumination, and argued that a directly overhead illumination would wash out features that side lighting would reveal. A 2001 MGS image taken with better illumination confirmed the natural mesa appearance. Researchers who have examined this evidence have described it as genuinely difficult to explain within the accepted framework. These are not fringe commentators. They are credentialed academics publishing in mainstream journals, raising questions that the field has not yet satisfactorily answered. Then there is the matter of pareidolia, the human tendency to perceive faces and meaningful patterns in rando. Visual data is a well-documented cognitive phenomenon. The brain's face detection circuitry is extraordinarily sensitive and generates false positives easily, especially in low-resolution images with ambiguous shadowing. What makes this particularly significant is its independence from the previous points. This is not a case of one theory requiring another. These are separate lines of evidence converging on the same uncomfortable conclusion. Adding to the enigma is this finding: Mars does have an extraordinary landscape with many remarkable geological formations. Olympus Mons, the largest volcano in the solar system, Valles Marineris, a canyon longer than the United States is wide, and vast polar ice caps. The Cydonia Mesa is among the least remarkable of Mars's genuine geological wonders. Taken together, these facts form a pattern that cannot be explained by coincidence, misidentification, or methodological error. Each piece of evidence has been examined by skeptics. Each has been subjected to alternative explanations. And in each case, the alternative explanation falls short of accounting for everything that has been documented. We are left with a body of evidence that demands explanation and an accepted narrative that does not provide one. This is where serious inquiry begins. Now that we have established the evidence, we need to examine the theories that researchers have proposed to explain the face on Mars, Pareidolia, or ancient monument. This is where the debate becomes most intense. because the theories reflect not just different interpretations of the same evidence, but fundamentally different assumptions about what is possible and what the past looked like. Understanding these theories is not just an academic exercise. Each one has been championed by serious researchers with genuine credentials, and each one captures something that the others miss. The truth, if it is ever established, will likely draw on elements of several. The first major explanation proposed by researchers holds that the face on Mars is a natural geological formation, a mesa eroded by wind, possibly enhanced by subsequent covering of frost or dust that increased certain shadows, that happens to resemble a face when imaged from a specific angle at a specific resolution with a specific sun angle. This is the scientific consensus, supported by all higher resolution imaging. This interpretation has significant academic support and is backed by substantial evidence, but it is not without problems. Critics point out that it requires assumptions that go beyond what the evidence strictly supports, and that key predictions of this theory have not been confirmed by subsequent research. It remains contested, and the contest is productive. A rival school of thought argues that the face on Mars is a genuine artificial structure of ancient Martian or extraterrestrial origin, deliberately designed with facial symmetry. The higher resolution images do not disprove this, because the structure may have been eroded or modified since its construction. This is the hypothesis promoted by Hoagland and others. This theory is controversial, and deliberately so. Its proponents argue that the evidence demands an explanation outside the conventional framework. Critics counter that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and that the evidence presented, while suggestive, does not yet meet that standard. The debate continues in peer-reviewed literature. Perhaps the most unconventional theory suggests that the Cydonia region contains natural formations that have been significantly misinterpreted by alternative researchers. But the investigation of Cydonia has produced valuable data about Mars's geology and the range of shapes that natural erosion processes can produce. What is striking about this debate is not merely that experts disagree. That is normal and healthy in science. What is striking is the quality of the disagreement. Serious researchers working from the same body of evidence, reaching genuinely different conclusions. That level of fundamental disagreement, when it persists over decades, is a signal that something important has not yet been understood. The question is not which of these theories is right. The question is whether any of them is right, or whether the truth is something that none of the current frameworks has yet been able to capture. The case surrounding the face on Mars, Pareidolia, or ancient monument, does not rest on speculation alone. What distinguishes this investigation from pure mythology is the existence of documented, physical, verifiable evidence, material that has been examined by credentialed researchers and whose authenticity is not seriously disputed. What is disputed is its interpretation. Let us review the most significant documented evidence as objectively as possible. We are not going to cherry-pick the data that supports a preferred conclusion. We are going to lay out what exists and let you draw your own assessment. Physical evidence supporting this account includes the 2001 Mars Global Surveyor image of the Cydonia Mesa, taken with appropriate illumination geometry, shows the formation as a natural geological structure without coherent facial features, the most direct evidence against the artificial construction hypothesis. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. Investigators have documented comparative analysis of the Cydonia Mesa with similar mesa formations elsewhere on Mars and with similar wind-eroded mesas on Earth, shows that the Cydonia formation is consistent with natural erosional processes. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. On-site analysis revealed The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter's high-rise camera has imaged Cydonia at 25-centimeter resolution, enough to detect individual boulders, and shows no features inconsistent with a natural geological formation. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. Each individual piece of evidence might, in principle, be explained away. A single anomalous artifact might be misidentified. A single anomalous date might reflect contamination. A single anomalous eyewitness account might reflect misperception. The question is whether all of the evidence can be explained away, and whether the explanations required are more or less plausible than the evidence itself. When multiple independent lines of inquiry converge on the same conclusion, that convergence is the most powerful signal in empirical science. And that is exactly what we are seeing here. We have examined the history, the evidence, and the theories surrounding the face on Mars, Pareidolia, or ancient monument. Now we need to ask the question that is sometimes overlooked in discussions of ancient mysteries. Why does this matter? What does it mean for us today? It would be easy to file this away as an interesting historical curiosity, a puzzle from a distant past with no bearing on our present lives. That would be a fundamental mistake. The questions raised by this case touch on issues that are directly relevant to who we are, where we came from, and what the human story actually looks like before the period covered by conventional history. The face on Mars is now definitively resolved as a natural geological formation in scientific terms, though it continues to feature in ancient astronaut media. Mars exploration has revealed that the planet has a genuinely extraordinary and complex geological history, evidence of ancient river systems, subsurface ice, organic chemistry, and complex mineralogy. The search for life on Mars is a serious scientific endeavor. It does not require faces in mesas. The real Mars is more interesting than the myth. Furthermore, the tools available to investigate these questions are advancing rapidly. Satellite imaging, ground-penetrating radar, ancient DNA analysis, isotopic tracing, and deep-sea sonar are all providing capabilities that previous generations of researchers could only dream of. Cases that were genuinely unresolvable 10 years ago are now open to new analysis, and the findings, consistently, are expanding rather than contracting the mystery. The investigation continues. New discoveries are being made. New analyses are being published. New voices are entering the conversation from disciplines that were not previously part of the discussion. The answers, when they come, and they will come, will not merely solve a historical puzzle. They will force a fundamental revision of assumptions that underpin our entire understanding of human history and human potential. We have now walked through the complete case of the face on Mars, Pareidolia, or ancient monument, from the historical record through the physical evidence, across competing theories, and into the modern significance of what remains unresolved. What the story of face on Mars ultimately reveals is not just a historical puzzle. It is a mirror. It reflects our assumptions back at us, our assumptions about what ancient people were capable of, about how knowledge is gained and lost across the centuries, and about the relationship between what we know and what we merely think we know. The evidence presented in this documentary is real. The questions it raises are genuine. The debate among researchers is ongoing, and that is healthy. Science is not a set of conclusions. It is a process. And the process requires that we remain open to evidence that challenges what we thought we knew, however uncomfortable that challenge might be. If you came to this documentary as a skeptic, we hope the evidence gave you something to think about. If you came as a true believer, we hope the critical examination gave you a more nuanced picture. The truth, as always, lies in the evidence, not in what we want to be true. Thank you for watching. If this investigation sparked your curiosity, please subscribe to the channel. We publish new documentaries every week, covering the full range of historical mysteries that the mainstream has not yet adequately explained. Leave a comment below telling us which case you want us to investigate next. The conversation continues. The investigation never ends.